It's difficult enough when the doctors give you that first initial diagnosis, the words that will forever change your life. But what if there was no diagnosis, no definition for what your child has? A medical mystery. I had the opportunity to sit down with Tamara and Matt Cochran, parents to sweet 5-year-old daughter Abby. Tell me about Abby's history.
Well, she was a normal pregnancy. Everything was fine, and then from the time that they pulled her out, they realized that she had gumminess, hypotomia, and the first thing that the nurse said to me, instead of congratulations, was, do you know CPR, because your daughter could choke. And the doctor had come to us and sat down and basically said, we don't know what's wrong with your daughter, we don't know if she's going to live, we don't know if she's going to talk or if she's going to walk, we don't have a prognosis for you.
I was going through both of you emotionally during this time.
That initial night, I mean, I'll never forget it. It was terrible. I was obviously happy to have a daughter, but I think when a doctor tells you they don't know what's wrong with her, it was devastating.
We didn't have a diagnosis. We didn't know what was going to happen to her. I didn't really know who she was. I mean, she had been in the NICU, and you know, I had to come home and take care of the kids and travel back and forth to the hospital, and she would just scream bloody murder, and I would just try to hold her and console her, and I couldn't really do anything to comfort her. And it was then at the hospital that she was seen by the genetics department. They just said, she doesn't have Down syndrome, they just named off a gamut of all these things. She had a coloboma in her right optic nerve, and so they told us on the phone, came home from the hospital, long day, it was stressful, we're sorry your daughter's blind in the right eye. And it was just like, okay, you know, and the hits just keep on coming. And one night, she screamed the whole entire night. She had had a bilateral stroke. They were trying to figure out what was wrong, and I was calling the doctor to find out how she was doing, and they kept putting me on hold and putting me on hold, and I was like, something's not right. They had to resuscitate her because she had a huge seizure. We didn't think that she was going to make it. They didn't have very high hopes for her, so that was a horrible time. I had begged the doctor, can you please make it okay that we stay at the hospital some more? I did not want to take her home. I was terrified of her. I hadn't bonded with her because she had been in the, in NICU, in the PICU, and everywhere else for such a long time. We hadn't had that baby bond, mother-daughter bond. She was on all these different medications. She had this new way of being fed. I didn't understand it or know what it was about. I didn't think that I could do it. I didn't have confidence in myself. We had 2 journals, and our alarm clocks were set around the clock. We were both taking shifts and waking up and giving her medication. She was on a feeding pump all night long. It was exhausting.
How was your relationship together during that time? I know that puts a lot of stress.
Her heart was broken, my heart was broken. You're just trying to kind of hold it all together. I mean, I wasn't thinking about a week or 2 days or anything, you're just kind of taking it 1 hour at a time. We realized pretty early on that when you're married and you have kids, you get into these petty little arguments over stuff. And as we were going through this, we kind of realized, those days are over, because we're not going to survive this if we sit here and get into the usual husband-wife little differences and things like that. You kind of protect yourself in the sense, like Tamara said earlier, that we didn't think she was going to make it. You kind of build up this, not self-preservation, but you're like, we got to get through this.
Kind of a protective layer.
You distance yourself from her, even though you're the parents and you're trying to be there and making all the decisions, and you want to give her love, but it's like this I don't want to get too close because it's going to hurt.
It's tough when it's your child, and you're just, I don't want to get too close because you might not make it, and it's really going to be devastating,
Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned next week for part 2 of the Cochran family story, where they talk about the balance between raising a child with special needs and having 2 typical children. Be sure to comment below and tell us what you think of this episode, and don't forget to check out the other features we have on our site, like discussion forums, blogs, and kiddo camp.